Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
And coming up today, we're going to be talking about atheism.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about talking.
We're going to get a little meta on the whole
Yeah,
thing.
for sure.
So we talk about atheism, and we're going to talk about talking about atheism.
That's right. We're going to talk about...
Maybe we'll do a show next week that's talking about
talking about
atheism.
I don't think
I'm sure we're
going to
get some feedback on it. So they'll... Anyway.
Yeah, we're going to talk about, at your work, with your friends, with your parents.
Tricky conversations come up?
We're not talking about coming out of the closet.
No.
We're talking about how do we talk about this thing?
Yeah.
This thing that
You're well out of the closet.
we all share. Or you're not, but you're out of the closet with a few people.
Right.
They have questions.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
But before we do that, we have other things to talk about. I'm going to talk about one Mr. Bernard Sanders.
What did he do?
He's running for president.
Oh, well, all right. Good luck.
I saw a YouTube video where somebody was doing an actually incredible impersonation of him.
Oh, yeah?
And he said something along the lines of, I know that it looks like I'm running for president of the Muppet Show, but pretty funny.
That's pretty good.
Pretty funny
That's
stuff.
Pretty good.
Anywho, so he recently was interviewed by the Washington Post, and had some interesting. People have been asking him the God question, the religion question, and he's been clear that he doesn't he hedges, but he never says my faith is X. I mean, he was raised Jewish. He was.
Right.
I mean, he did his whole bar mitzvah thing, and even went to Israel and worked on a kibbutz, I think, for a while.
Really?
Yeah, as you do when you're a Jew. But he
Really?
well, I mean, sure, some.
Okay. It's required. There's a list of things that
That's
one
right.
does.
The Muslims go to Mecca,
Yeah.
and the Jews go to the kibbutz. Anyway, so he's done quotations like, for instance, quote, I think everyone believes in God in their own ways. To
Really,
me,
everyone?
right.
Okay.
To me, it means that that all of us are connected. All of life is connected, and that we are all tied together.
Oh, that's nice.
That
We're all tied together.
is not a god, Mr. Sanders. What you have described is different than that.
Some sort of society that people live in?
Yeah, right?
We're all...
Of course, he said all of life is connected, so it sounds like he believes in the Force, is what he sounds like.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway,
that works.
It's a very interesting thing. He refuses to be nailed down. Clinton, on the other hand...
she's getting all mainline Protestant all over.
She's solidly Methodist. She's been hitting it hard. I'm a person of faith, she says. I'm a Christian. I am a Methodist. I have been raised Methodist. I feel very grateful for the instructions and support that I've received, starting in my family, but through my church.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So basically, every presidential candidate except Bernie Sanders has been hitting the whole faith thing. Even Trump with his stupid, going to Liberty University.
Yeah.
And now, mind you, I'm not one of the people who says that he fucked up the Bible. He just said it in a way that's not the popular way to say the
2 Corinthians.
as opposed to 2 Corinthians.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all say 2 Corinthians, but it's not wrong to say 2 Corinthians.
What it does, though, is it questions his level of real exposure.
It makes it absolutely clear that he knows nothing about the Bible. It makes it 100%.
This is the first time he's actually opened.
This man has never paid attention in a church in his life.
2 Corinthians.
Right, yeah, exactly.
2:1-5.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But he says he believes in the Bible. Of course, when he was pinned down, they were like, "What's your favorite verse?" Oh, I don't want to pick one of them.
Well, I love them all.
I love them all, right? and then somebody asked him, "Do you like the Old Testament or the New Testament better?" And he's like, I love them all. You gave the Palin answer. What do you read? What news magazines you read? All of them.
Well, she's on the campaign now.
Yeah, I know.
So, like, he's clearly getting some good, solid coaching.
Thank God, because
from
Tina Fey's impression is still on point, and it's and so we needed more of Palin. But no, it's interesting. I mean, true to sort of his form, Sanders is just not doing what everybody else is expecting him to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, and this actually leads into my story. If you're done with yours, I can.
Sure. I mean, I was going to read a couple more quotes. Let me just get a couple more quotes out, and then you can segue nicely. He says, "I am what I am, and what I believe in, and what my spirituality is about, is that we're all in this together."
Oh, I am what I am.
He says,
"Really?
Okay. Yeah, they're trying to nail him down." That was on Jimmy Kimmel that he said that. He said, "I want to be treated with dignity and respect, and I want other people to be treated with dignity and respect. I think it is important that a sense of morality be a part of our politics."
Golden rule. That sounds like the golden rule.
I feel like it's pretty fair to say this guy is an atheist. I mean, at very least, yeah. He won't talk about a personified God. I think we got an atheist on our hands. That's just what I'm going to say.
It's possible. I mean, it's...
he's never going to use that word.
The fact of the matter is he's just being the most honest.
Yeah.
Any of them are being.
Sure.
Because let's look at the other two that you just mentioned, Trump and Clinton.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, yeah, they don't give a fuck about God.
None of these three believes in God.
No. It's amazing to me. I think, did you know that
just you?
Well, and here's an interesting thing that the Post pointed out.
Yeah.
He's coming on the heels of the first black president. Mm-hmm. Clinton's hitting the "I'll be the first woman president" thing really, really hard.
Right.
He's not hitting the "I'll be the first Jewish president" thing at all.
Well, don't you think that would still be a little dicey on some level? I mean, he clearly doesn't really care about like who he's impressing or not.
No.
Because he seems to just come out and say exactly what's on his mind.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Isn't there still some Jew thing?
Well, yeah, but he's
in politics.
But he's already associated with it. He might as well get what he. I mean, largely the Jewish lobby
would it even be that big of a deal? I'm trying to think it through. Like,
I mean, the people who hate Jews aren't voting for a Democrat anyway,
right?
I feel like the truth is that, I mean, because largely the Jewish lobby, the pro-Israel lobby, is behind Clinton.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, you'd think that he could use that. He could use his Judaism as a leverage point, because there's a lot. I mean, stereotypes aside, there's a lot of money that flows from that Jewish lobby.
Then why not go for it?
He doesn't care. Because he doesn't believe in God. He doesn't believe in Judaism. So why would he want their money? He actually has like ethics.
Oh, God damn it, Bernie.
I know. Get off that ethics train.
Go for the votes, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But that does lead into your next story.
Yes, which is a poll that was recently done by the Pew Research, whatever.
Yeah. What a great organization, the Pew Research, whatever.
This is the Religion and Politics survey that they just did, that finds that Americans are warming to the idea of a non-religious or potentially even atheist president.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, the last time they did this poll, the respondents to the poll said that the number of respondents to the poll that said that they would be less likely to vote for an atheist came in at 61%.
Okay.
So a good majority.
Yeah.
You know,
less likely. Yeah, I can.
Less likely.
Right? I'm surprised it's not higher.
That was in August of 2007.
Sure.
It's now down to 51%.
Really?
Yep. Now, that's not to say that religion isn't still a benefit to a candidate, right?
Sure.
They're able to utilize their religiousness and their proclaimed belief as a way to get to voters. But people are holding it against a lack of belief or a difference in belief from their own personal belief a lot less. They're not holding it against them.
That's interesting.
In fact, let's see. Past Pew surveys found that 7 in 10 Americans said that it was important for a president to have strong religious beliefs. But they revised the question. They're now asking, how important is it to you to have a president who shares your religious beliefs? And that, let's see, Republicans, 64% say that it is important. 41% of Democrats say that it's important, that they share your beliefs. Now that's interesting, because what people are saying is, well, as long as they have some belief,
the way that hits my ear, the way that hits my sensibility is that they're saying, well, I guess he doesn't have to share my beliefs. He could be a Methodist and I'm a Baptist, and it'd be all right as long as he's Christian. Doesn't matter.
Or no, I think this is like strikingly different.
Yeah, it does seem like there is a small there's a sea change happening, because
because Methodists and as long as mainline Christians, or mainline Protestants rather, they always sort of were in the same little club, right? They didn't really care if you were Presbyterian or Methodist or Lutheran, it's basically the same thing. It's just slightly askew, little difference here in this practice or this belief. But at the end of the day, they clearly believe in the same God. Right.
Yeah.
Because they believe in the Trinity, and they believe in... They kind of dwell on the same parts of the Bible, and kind of have the same ethic and understanding of life.
They all like that Jesus fella.
Right. It's just, do you dance, or how much do you drink?
Right.
Or, it's that kind of stuff. But anyway, so this is interesting. Among the Democratic front runners of this current race, there's some interesting views.
Oh.
Okay. 48% overall of respondents say that Hillary Clinton is not a religious person.
Huh.
Right? So she's hitting it hard. So. Right. But she's hitting it hard, and it's interesting.
She's not
really selling the message. So broken down by party, it didn't matter. Both members of both party came in exactly at 65%, saying that she is at least somewhat religious. She's not... Her message is getting out, and it's not fooling anyone.
Right. Yeah.
And then about 2/3 of Democrats and those who lean Democratic say that Clinton is very or somewhat religious. Roughly half of Democrats say Sanders is at least somewhat religious. That's at 47%. Evangelicals are skeptical of both Clinton and Sanders. Only 16% think that Sanders would be a good president, but about 15%, so basically the same number, say the same thing about Clinton.
I feel like we're getting to a point where, this is a side topic, but why the fuck do we care about people's opinions about somebody else's beliefs? Do you believe that they believe a thing? Well, that's none of my business if they believe in a thing or not.
Well, right, you're making the right point, but I do think that it's interesting to know who are they fooling?
Right, to gauge the crowd.
Are they actually, because
right.
The conversation we just had, we don't think that any three of the candidates is actually a believer of any substance.
Right, exactly. And if you ask Americans' opinions about, the religion of Barack Obama, you're going to get a very interesting...
Man's not that religious. And then...
yes, he is. He just loves Allah, not Yahweh.
The nuns. The infamous nuns. The NONES.
Yes.
Nuns. Us. People with no religious identity. Sanders scored a good or great rating from 51% of nuns, and Clinton drew high praise from only 42% of nuns.
Huh.
So the non-religious seem to be going towards Sanders in just slightly higher numbers.
Interesting.
Not that any of this means all that much at this stage in the game.
No, not at all. But it is interesting. Anyway, I'm going to move us on to some more polling, actually.
I just did polling, Dan.
You love polls.
I'm tired of polls.
No, you're not. We're going to go on. So also the Pew, they've been looking at some studies that they've done and found, so this is interesting, it's correlating religious belief with a sense of awe and wonder. And they're discussing awe, and what they found is that awe and wonder in Americans has gone up. Has increased.
Really?
Yeah, they say people who have felt a deep sense of wonder about the universe at least weekly is up in America from 39% in 2007 to 46%.
This while the numbers of nuns has increased.
Well, that's part of this. That's part of this question. What they found is that yes, it has actually gone up most in the category of nuns.
No,
we are the ones who are feeling the awe, and I love it. See. Here's the thing: if you ask a Christian, if non-believers would feel a sense of awe and wonder, I'm guessing they would say no because they associate those ideas with God. But the thing is, it makes perfect sense to me because we don't have answers.
Right.
There's all of these completely unanswered questions,
right?
And all we can do is just sit here and be these little critters on this rock that's sort of spinning around in space.
Right.
There's nothing but awe and wonder for me. So there was
nothing but really.
Oh my gosh!
You just walk around.
I'm in awe of everything.
Huh? How do you find time to do anything, Dan?
Oh, it's just a constant state of awe. I don't pause for the awe. I just keep the awe sort of at a sort of constant level.
You don't pause
for the awes. People who are unaffiliated religiously jumped from 39% to 47% awe of weekly awe.
Their awe index is high.
But the most significant change is atheists, specifically atheists.
What?
Not just nuns, but atheists. The number of atheists who reported feelings of wonder about the universe soared from 37% to 54%.
What? Wow.
Good. Weekly awe, everybody. We're doing it.
We need to be experiencing awe. I think it's an important part of the human condition.
I think it's, I think it's beautiful, and I think that it's something that I personally feel like most people, a lot of people don't get, don't give themselves chances for that feeling as often as they should.
Go to the Grand Canyon, folks.
Get out into nature, or go into amazing architecture. Mm-hmm. I mean, see some art,
sunsets.
Get up
for a sunrise.
Yeah,
that's some awe.
Yeah. Or else it's some. I think that's how you pronounce awe better in the morning. I'm not a morning person.
Yeah, go see a good movie.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the great thing. That's what I find delightful about not having a God and not having a series of answers about the universe, is that it's just like, holy shit, what is all of this?
Or go to church.
Yeah, go to church. And then you'll be like,
oh, that's right. There's absolutely no awe here.
Actually, that's not my experience. I mean, if you go to Mormon church, there's exactly zero awe.
You can, right.
But if you go to like St. Paul's Cathedral in London,
right,
and hear a choir sing,
architecture,
right, and you have choirs and you have music, and there's awe there.
Yeah, okay.
they've cultivated awe. That's the one thing that the religious have done, is cultivated awe and wonder.
Unless you're Mormon.
And they just squeeze the life out of it. There's just no awe.
Why do they do that? Because it's just shocking.
Yeah, I know. It's like
church attendance.
It feels like a factory work.
You walk into a Motel 6, basically.
Yeah, it's about as fancy as that.
Yeah.
You've got really bad furniture everywhere. You sit on uncomfortable
You're surrounded
seats.
by painted cinder block walls. And if you're lucky, they've put some burlap over the top of it.
and then they
trimmed out in wood.
They have the most boring meeting they can imagine. Like, if you can make it more boring, they'll take your suggestion. Like, if you can find a way to make it more boring, they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, that is good."
Yeah.
Literally, I went to a Mormon wedding a couple weeks ago.
Like an out of the temple wedding.
An out of the temple. So this is a rare occurrence where two Mormons who aren't worthy of going to the temple still get married in by the Mormon bishop in a non-temple environment. It does happen. It's rare, but it happens.
How often did the bishop reference the fact that they were not getting married in the temple?
Actually, this bishop was cool about that.
Really? But the guidelines say basically that they're supposed to talk about that.
Yeah, this bishop...
Like gross.
This bishop was cool about that. But here's what he did. He did the Mormonist thing that he could do, which was he got up before the ceremony and told us what to expect. Which was... So before we start, I'd like to I will be presiding over this wedding, and afterwards we'll be hearing from the father of the bride, who will have some instructions on what we need to do for the after the wedding, while we clear the tables or while we clear the chairs so that we can bring out the tables for the reception. It was just like
it was a corporate meeting.
It was meeting, yeah. Somebody was probably taking minutes of this wedding. It was the worst thing ever. And then whoever was in charge of the music had it like going through some wireless thing, so it buffered 3 times, and like they were walking slowly in silence.
Like they're streaming it from Spotify.
Oh my God, it was so awkward. It was the most awkward thing I've ever had in my life.
Lucky an ad didn't play.
I know, right?
The music.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh well, let's stick with the Mormons just for a second.
Oh yeah, let's do.
We're going to go down to the BYU.
Oh, down to the BY.
And their law school.
Oh, yes, and they do have a law school.
They've got a law school right there, right in the middle campus.
Uh-huh.
Just kind of right off to the side.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's an interesting looking building. It's severe in its architecture.
Sure.
Yeah, so there's been this little group called Free BYU. That's been, I think we've spoken about it.
I think we mentioned them.
Maybe once or twice. I don't think we've really given them the attention that they deserve. It's a group of BYU alumni who are pushing BYU and the LDS Church, because it'll have to get the, downtown's approval,
right,
to allow for current students at BYU to change their mind about their faith. If they started off as Mormon, allow them to question their faith and even perhaps leave the faith.
Yeah,
while as a student, because
as background, BYU is owned by the LDS Church,
right?
And they do allow non-Mormons to come to their university. But if you start as a Mormon and then you change your mind while you're there,
right,
you now get kicked out of the university.
Right, because you've just violated the honor code. When you enter the university, you sign a set of rules and blah, blah, blah. And you have to keep up this ecclesiastical endorsement while you're going to school at BYU. Right. So and technically, whoever your ecclesiastical leader is, in the case of the 98% or whatever of the student body that's Mormon,
right,
that's going to be your Mormon bishop. Correct. And you're going to probably a student ward. Almost definitely you're going to a student ward. And so your bishop is on like high alert to be looking out for students kind of falling off or, their attendance tapering off and whatnot. And they actually, everybody kind of has this idea of, oh, you only have to have your ecclesiastical endorsement done once a year. Yeah, that's right. But they can yank it whenever they want.
Oh, really?
And if they yank your ecclesiastical endorsement, now you're in violation of the honor code, and you can get suspended or kicked out of school or whatever.
But it's now policy. If you leave the LDS church, you're gone out of that
Oh yeah,
university.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was what Free BYU was created to fight.
This is what exactly. That's where I was heading.
Sure.
So Free BYU is trying to say if you change your faith, LDS students who lose or change their faith can be allowed to finish their degree, because this ends up happening. You have these people who their intellectual curiosity has led them down,
weird that higher education could lead to people leaving a church
where they start doubting their faith in the LDS movement, and but they write it out, right, in order to get that degree that they've invested time and some money into.
A lot of time and money,
and although not so much money, because it's one of the cheapest degrees you can get out there.
When you're Mormon.
When you're not Mormon,
it's like double tuition or whatever.
Yeah, it's still insanely cheap.
Yeah. Anyway,
but nonetheless, the law school, from my understanding, not so much on the cheap side of things, but probably still less expensive than most law schools. But nonetheless, so they've been pushing for this. And the whole idea, so what they've done by raising this issue is they've actually now gotten the attention of the American Bar Association, because their accreditation of the law school at BYU is based in their own standards of non-discrimination.
Oh.
Right. And so what's been happening is LGBT students have been forced out.
Right.
And non-believing students have been forced out. And the guidelines from the ABA are that it's okay to allow for a preference in administration. However...
Like a religious preference?
Probably just about any preference,
okay.
Right? As long as it's not white people.
Well, I mean, that's sort of an unwritten preference at BYU.
But nonetheless, but the standards may not be used to limit academic freedom or to discriminate when it comes to admission or retention of students. The American Bar Association forbids schools from, quote, taking action based on race, religion, gender, nationality, sexuality, age, or disability.
Oh, interesting.
They're not allowed to take action on it. So they can use it as a means to show preference for a student who fits their religious group.
So they could not accept you based on this. But once you're accepted, they can't take action based on it.
Technically, the way that it's sounding to me, they may not be used to limit academic freedom or discriminate when it comes to admission or retention.
Oh, interesting.
They're only allowed to show a preference.
Huh.
Right? So
interesting.
They can't use it as a no.
They can use it
use it as we want him instead.
Right. Okay, that's really interesting. And does it so I mean, I guess it sounds like their accreditation might be at risk
from the ABA.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a school that probably shouldn't even be accredited at all as a school, as a university
in general.
But that's fascinating because this is one of those moments where, yes, when I first heard about Free BYU, I was like, oh, cute,
right?
But I think you have no leverage.
I think they do.
Now they kind of do.
If you start pulling in the accreditors,
I mean,
saying, listen, these folks, it's not that they're basically just seeking out all these Mormon students and blah, 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 or that they're preaching Mormonism in all of their classes. Right. Because it's a Mormon slant on everything. Yeah. That's not the problem here.
No.
The problem is that they don't allow for that freedom of thought and freedom of expression on their campus environment.
Interesting.
That's the problem.
That will be fascinating to see play out. Mormons are so good at navigating bureaucracy that I can see them just like convincing the Bar Association to let them slide.
Yeah, and their diplomatic skills are probably high enough.
They're pretty good.
I don't want to question the ethics of the ABA, but the Mormon Church has got a lot of money.
They're good at it.
Yeah,
they're good at this stuff.
They're able to like figure whether or not they're actually like giving to the right organization in order to influence your opinion, or they're just paying the right people who know how to present their side in the right way. They've got the money to figure it out.
They'll figure it out. But
I don't know though. But this one's a little dicey for them.
I mean, because the ABA has a written rule. They have a guideline in place. Like what are they going to do?
And this is
convince them to change their guideline?
Right. No. And this is only going to get more difficult.
Yeah.
For the LDS Church and for BYU as time goes by, and society continues to accept members of the LGBT community with in growing numbers.
Uh-huh.
And
it's going to be tricky.
They are going to seem so antiquated and so out of touch. Well, they already seem out of touch.
Yeah.
But so antiquated so soon to basically everyone except the fringes in this nation so quickly. They're not even. They don't. Can they?
It's
do
okay.
They even know what's coming?
Mormons love being fringe. They love being fringe.
Not in this way.
We'll see.
Because they didn't love being fringe on racism.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is going to play similarly.
They sure did cling to it for way longer than they should have.
Than they should have, but they eventually capitulated.
I have a friend who graduated from BYU's law school. Uh-huh. What's the name of the law school?
The Reuben C. Clark.
Yes.
School of Law.
That's what she claims. That's what when people ask her, where'd you go to school? Oh, it was the Reuben C. Clark Law
School of Law.
School of Law. Everybody's like, oh, where's that? Oh, never mind.
Oh, it's just a small little school down in
southern Utah.
Yeah.
She really does dodge it. It's amazing. It was very funny. All right. Well, I'm going to move on to this is kind of interesting. New York City. There has been a lawsuit filed.
Oh.
I don't think it'll go anywhere, but it's fascinating.
Okay.
A man named Justin Joseph has filed a lawsuit
against... That's not a real name.
Yes, it is. And he's filed a lawsuit against the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Oh, no.
It's a lawsuit claiming that the museum has participated in racist propaganda.
Oh, no. Not the MoMA.
Because all of their pieces that depict Jesus Christ depict him as white. So he's suing because there's a whole bunch. What he says is that because millions of dollars of taxpayer money goes to this institution, that makes it government speech. And as such, he doesn't feel that they should promote a white view of Jesus. Considering what anthropologists and theologians know about the region and about who Jesus was, he was not white.
Right. No.
He was
the people who made the art
or rather,
Dan.
Yeah, I know, right?
The people, more importantly, the people paying for the art were.
Right. Yeah. But so, it's an interesting thing. I mean, obviously,
you're paying for the artwork, you get a white god.
That's right. Well, I mean, and it's the same. I mean, he should also sue anyone who makes a museum that has Chinese-looking Buddhas.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's also racist propaganda.
Because of the worst kind.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is interesting how cultures they glom onto a religious leader, and then instead of forming themselves into the image of this religious leader, they make sure to mold that religious leader into their own form.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's the one that, I mean, as a white person, man,
we really need...
This should make sense to you.
Well, you know what makes more sense is that we need to create images of Buddha as white.
Oh, yeah.
We need to claim him, too.
Why not?
We kind of need to make them all white.
The strange thing about the Buddha, though, and the way that Western woo-woo liberalism works...
Embraces it.
It's the fact that he is Asian.
Oh, yeah.
That has most of its value.
Oh, yeah.
Not to say something that sounds deeply racist.
Well,
but let's face it.
There is a racism
there's
to
a
it.
fascination with Eastern tradition.
With ancient Eastern knowledge. And they just had a better sense of the universe than we do. They just understood things that we just don't get.
Now, I will say that their stretching, bending, and balancing practices, also known as yoga, are good. As long as it's stretching, bending, and balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've said that before.
People like it.
I'm doing some stretching, bending, and balancing right now.
Yeah.
For my back.
Are you?
Yes.
You have a practice?
I have a practice of sorts. And it's helpful.
Yeah.
It wakes it up.
Yeah.
And it's just so yummy.
You have all of your various asanas that you do.
The language that these... Oh, it's so hard to find a video on YouTube that I can watch where it's not just the most nauseatingly oh, well, I have a yummy pose for your back right now.
Yeah, well,
this just, and it's like I wish I could remember some of the other phrases that they use that really bug me, but yummy just stands out.
Oh,
I can't
really?
handle the use of the word yummy or juicy or any of that crap.
I just don't like
because it's just like, stop it.
I don't like this. Like you're taking a practice that's sort of from India and the surrounding area, and then what you're doing is you're Americanizing it, but it's important to keep the Sanskrit words. Really important that we talk about Shavasana and whatever. We can't just. I mean, we have Americanized names for these poses,
right?
But we really like those Sanskrit words. Yeah. And let's say namaste at the end. Even though nobody knows what that actually means.
I hate all of that crap so much.
I know, me too.
But I like the stretching and bending.
Yeah, that's good.
Because they figured out stretching and bending.
Yeah.
And balance.
They're good at it.
They really figured it out. Like they have it dialed in, these yogis, right?
Yeah.
They've got it figured out. I just can't handle all the mysticism that surrounds it.
Yeah, exactly.
But unfortunately, my poor little back at the moment needs some stretching and bending.
Yeah.
So
we're old. That's the main thing. All right.
Indeed.
Next.
All right. Oh, next.
Moving on.
I'm done with this one, Frank. You've said enough, Frank. Next. All right. This comes... Oh, that was an amazing look you just gave me. All right. So here's a little story coming to us from Italy. Italy.
La bella Italia.
Italy.
Yeah.
So they recently had a visit from the Iranian president.
Oh.
Hassan Rouhani. Rouhani.
Sure.
And while he was there, I guess they must have taken him through the Capitoline museums. Because they covered up a bunch of nude statues. And this has angered the Italian public.
Oh yeah, that would
especially some Italian officials, government officials.
Oh really?
Who and the public. Well, everybody's hitting Twitter apparently.
Sure.
With the hashtag statue nude. They chose English words, but chose Italian order.
Funny.
Statue nude. And so they're upset. Because
these are great works of art.
These are amazing works of art
covered over because of somebody's.
And come on, he can handle it.
You're a grown man.
He can handle a little penis, like a boobie or two, right?
I think
on display.
Sure,
because
he loves it.
That's what they did. That's what the Renaissance artists did. That's what the ancient artists did.
That's what they were into. Those pervs.
Apparently, Rouhani says that he did not ask for them to do such.
They
did it
accommodating.
in order to accommodate him. And this is his quote. When asked about it, at a press conference in Rome. He said, "I know that Italians are a very hospitable people, a people who try to do the most to put their guests at ease, and I thank you for this."
Okay.
So he was appreciative.
Oh, my God.
He appreciated that he didn't have to see boobies and...
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so there's the cultural thing. I can see why this would be so hugely offensive to Italians. Because it's basically like covering up their culture.
Yeah.
It's like if a dignitary came and suddenly we were like, oh, quick, hide all of the people who look like X.
Right.
Because they don't like that.
Right.
Hide all of them.
Right.
Or whatever. So it's covering up their culture. But there's also like this whole political thing where the Italian government knows that if this guy comes, his opponents can make hay over him looking at...
Yeah, a photo gets taken.
Penis art or whatever. So, I mean, I get where they're coming, but yeah, that was a dumb move. Just don't take him to the museums.
Right.
You don't get to go to museums, dummy.
Or chart a course. Either be a museum where he doesn't have to have a picture taken with some statue's doodle next to his head.
Right, yeah, exactly. Be like... shitty American parents who think that their kids can't handle seeing a penis and just don't take them to the museum.
Or just, be the BYU Museum of Art.
Oh, my God.
With the Rodin exhibit forever ago.
Yeah, where they didn't allow the kiss because while they allow nudes, two nudes of the opposite gender touching was just too much.
It just crossed the line.
Too much. All right. Well,
I guess I'm not done.
Yeah. Go on.
Anywho, that's that. He's not done with his French tour, or at least
his Italian tour. You mean?
I'm sorry, with his European tour.
Okay.
Because he's heading to France.
Okay.
Okay. I guess there was a big sort of French meal, big traditional meal that was planned at the presidential palace that had to be canceled over a dispute on the menu.
Of course it did.
The French hosts refused to accommodate the Iranian leader's request for a halal meal.
Oh, my God.
Which means no alcohol and certified meat.
It's the alcohol. I was like, they can't just cook him certified meat.
Apparently.
But like telling the French you can't have wine, that's going to be a big deal.
So it wasn't that he wanted the entire meal, everything in the room, to accommodate him.
I understand. Yeah, I mean, that is dumb.
That's dumb.
But especially that's a dumb thing to say to the French. The French are just going to be like, mais no, we're not going to do this. I'm sorry. If you don't drink wine, this is your thing. You can do it.
We don't understand.
Right. But if we don't drink wine, we die. We don't live through a day of no wine. That's not possible. So my baby drinks wine out of a bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. Not many meetings in France.
That's just so that you can cut down. Anyway, if you have any comments, questions, thoughts that you'd like to add to this conversation, please do. You can write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, or go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
And while you're on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, so you have to be let in.
It's sneaky. Well, we're gonna let's take a little break. We don't have any Pat Robertson for you, kids. Sorry about that, but we do have one Mr. Franklin Graham, your namesake. I would.
Not really. My name's not Franklin.
I call you Franklin.
It's not my name.
That's true. Anyway, Franklin Graham is going to teach us all about how to be a good Christian.
We have allowed the enemy to come into our churches. I was talking to some Christians, and they were talking about how they have invited these gay children to come into their home and to come to the church, and that they were wanting to influence them. And I thought to myself, they're not going to influence those kids. Those kids are going to influence this parent's children. And what happens is we think that We can fight by smiling and being real nice and loving. We have to understand who the enemy is and what he wants to devour our homes. He wants to devour this nation. And we have to be so careful who we let our kids hang out with. We have to be so careful who we let into the churches. And you have immoral people that get into churches, and it begins to affect the others in the church. And it is dangerous. So I'm going to encourage the church to take a stand for Christ.
To be the church.
To be the church, to take a stand for righteousness. And homosexuality is, we have allowed into our schools. That's why I want to get the school boards back. Homosexuality is taught to be okay in our universities. And you have all these diversity classes and all these nice names that they come up with promoting and pushing homosexuality. Listen, I'm not here to bash gays. I don't want to do that. And because God does love them. And I have people ask me, can a gay person go to heaven? Absolutely, sure. But that gay person is going to have to repent of their sins and turn from their sins. Leave their sins, and they have to believe on the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and trust Him as their Savior. And they have to be willing to follow Him as their Lord. But you cannot stay gay and continue to call yourself a Christian.
Oh, yeah, just stop being gay.
You can go to heaven, Frank.
Yeah.
Gay people can go to heaven.
It's easy.
Just don't be gay anymore. That's the trick. It's a simple thing.
Just stop being you.
I love that he's like, we can fight. Some idiots think that they can fight by smiling and being nice and loving. That's not what Christians do.
We're mean and
we don't
nasty
be nice and loving.
Hateful.
There's nothing you can do. There's no good that can come of being nice and loving.
Hate. Tap that hate. Feel it. Feel it deep within you.
Oh, wow. Franklin Graham's he's the emperor. Oh, I can feel the hate swelling within you. Strike me down. All right. There you go. We had some folks write into us.
Yes, please.
And say some things. So,
please. Let's hear it.
You'll recall that last week we talked for a long time about alternative medicines.
Indeed.
Had some folks write in about that. Petter writes in and says, thanks for the quackery episode and all the other ones. I know there are a lot of people that struggle with chiropractic, my friends included, so I appreciate you speaking out.
Yeah.
There are a few other quick points I'd like to make if you'll indulge me. As preposterous and devoid of evidence as the idea that water remembers the vibrations of the original substance. Now, this is a homeopathy thing. Right, we talked about how homeopaths believe that water
has memory.
Has memory. So even if there's not even a single molecule of active ingredient, the water will retain it.
Wouldn't it eventually remember everything?
Yeah, you'd think.
Water doesn't it remember the tree it fell off of?
And the whale that it glanced off of its back?
Yeah.
Water remembers everything.
So shouldn't all water be
I mean, at some point, every drop of water has touched all the things.
Does it forget?
I don't know. Here's this point. Petter's point is, it seems to me that getting the vibrating water to maintain its vibrations in a dry pill is another story. Oh. How the fuck do you do that? Doesn't the water evaporate? That's a good point.
That is a good point.
There's no water in a pill? Is there water in a pill?
It's like one of those liquid gel things.
No. These are pills.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Then I don't know.
Maybe they have liquid
That's
gels.
a good point.
But yeah, anyway, he also says, perhaps unintentionally, you seem to give credibility to acupuncture doing something, if accidentally. And no, that
was intentional.
It does a thing. He says, I thought I'd point out that sham acupuncture, meaning inserting the needles into wrong places, placebo acupuncture, poking the skin with toothpicks, and phantom acupuncture, poking needles into a rubber arm,
right,
show statistically indistinguishable results.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it does a thing.
Right.
That thing may be entirely placebo effect.
Right.
But it does a thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of placebo, he also said it'd be helpful. It would be helpful if the larger issue of placebo were addressed.
Yeah, we should probably at some point.
Yeah, I mean, so he says placebos do not necessarily do anything.
Right.
In the context of treatment and research, they are instead a suite of confounding factors, including but not limited to the patient and doctor-researcher confirmation bias, false reporting, ordinary healing, regression to the mean, suggestion, the Rogers phenomenon. I don't know what that is. I could have looked all of these up, but the Simpson paradox, which I think is to do with Homer Simpson. I'm not sure. Anyway, so he says, so yes, but the placebo effect means that somebody gets they think they're going to get a benefit. They perceive that they're going to get a benefit, and their body somehow manifests that benefit.
Right.
Without there being any actual ingredient.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yes, indeed.
Anyway, thanks for writing in, Petter. That was nice. We also heard from Taylor, who said, Dear Frank and Dan, I just listened to your most recent episode, Quackery. As a student of public health at Utah's own Westminster College, I have to thank you for making me feel vindicated in my distaste and distrust for alternative medicine. Generally speaking, public health professionals like my professors and coworkers tend to talk down alternative medicine in favor of research-backed medicine for several reasons. Last year, however, I was in junior college. I took a health professions and organizations class from a professor who had, shall we say, a less skeptical view on such methods. We, a group of 20 or so public health and nursing students, spent many hours in her classroom hearing about homeopathy, essential oils, acupuncture, chiropractic, the disease-healing powers of massage therapy, and my favorite, cupping, which we didn't get to.
What?
Cupping is my favorite example because I remember her describing how it worked. Now, here's the thing. I know a little bit about cupping. I don't know a lot about cupping. I'm interrupting this email, but it's a medieval practice where they would you take like a jar and you hold fire under it. You heat up the air in the jar.
Okay.
And then you put the jar mouth down onto someone's back.
Okay.
No, you don't heat up the jar. You're heating up the air in the jar.
Oh, yeah.
So what it does is, as that air cools, it creates a vacuum and pulls the skin up into the jar. Ugh. And you do like 10 or 12 of these jars on somebody's back.
Oh. So it sounds a lot like they were onto the same thing with these like acupuncturists.
Yeah.
Like there's the they found the meridians too.
Sure. Sure, they know all about it.
Huh.
So she says. Taylor says. This is the professor describing how it works. She said, the suction cups reach into your body and pull the toxins to the top layer of your skin.
Oh, those nasty toxins.
And you can actually see it. It turns your skin purple.
Oh.
And then it gradually fades away.
The purple, that's all the toxins.
That's
coming to the surface.
Hickeys are toxins.
Oh,
people don't know this about hickeys. Yeah. It's so funny.
So good.
The cupping thing is amazing to me. By the way,
we need a round two. We need a round two of this.
Yeah, we'll do it. But just as a quick public service announcement, if someone says the word toxins to you, and they're not talking about a specific toxin that they can actually name, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Right.
Anyway, thank you, Taylor, for writing. You know what?
So glad to get the toxins out.
Maybe I'm so skeptical because I've got a bunch of toxins in me.
It could be. I just need a good detox. Dan.
It's so funny to me. Like, we have people in the medical community who talk about toxins in the same way that the woo people do.
Yeah.
Baffle me. Because they know we have a mechanism for getting rid of toxins in our body. Yeah. It's called a liver.
Yeah.
We've got filters. We get rid of our toxins.
Yeah.
You don't need anything to do. You don't need any external thing to get rid of toxins.
Time.
You just need to process it through your body and then poop it out.
Just let it go.
Pee it out.
Yeah. You get a lot of... You get intoxicated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, alcohol's a toxin.
Yeah.
You don't seem to just mind that one.
Get through the next day.
Yeah.
Meh.
Anyway, we have some donors. Do we have some people to thank?
We have some donors.
Some new. We forgot to do it last week.
We forgot.
Oh, sorry about that.
We suck.
Yeah. Anyway,
I would like to thank Patrick, Eoin.
Eoin.
Okay.
Matt.
And James.
Awesome.
these are new patrons on
new Patreon.
Great. You can find our campaign at patreon.com/TGI Atheist.
Yeah.
And it's all up there.
You can pay as much or as little as you like.
Check it out.
If you enjoy the show, you can help us out a little bit
biggie.
by going on there.
Yeah.
Well, Franklin, that is not your name. I would. We have something to discuss.
Yes, we do.
Have you ever gotten into a discussion with a coworker about atheism?
Yeah. It's usually fine.
Sure.
It's usually fine. Because I'm not like... I don't know if you know this about me, Dan. I'm not a rabid atheist.
What?
I don't just like...
You don't have rabies?
I'm not biting people and spreading my atheism.
That's good.
No, I take a fairly gentle approach out in public and with people that I know. I think it's better just to announce that I'm an atheist and just be who I am.
Sure.
And if I'm not a proselytizer of atheism.
No,
I had my 2 years of proselytizing. And,
you were cured,
and it got it out of my system.
Yeah,
I guess we could say. I think people should just kind of come to their own conclusions, and as long as there's a good, strong atheist message out there. But if people start talking about things and there's a discussion going on, I'll get into the mix.
Sure. And we should preface this by saying that we live in a place where it's not that dangerous to say that you're an atheist. No. There are parts of this country and probably others, well, definitely others. I mean, if you're in the Middle East, you can be put to death for saying you're an atheist.
Right. Or if you live down in Provo.
Or if they will bore you to death is what they'll do. That's the punishment for being an atheist there. But yeah, I mean, so we don't necessarily, this isn't a question of this isn't a discussion about whether or not you should come out or how to come out as atheist.
Right.
This is a discussion of how to talk about atheism with those around you who don't get it.
Right.
If you're already out or if you're out to some people.
Right.
There's a lot. It's so funny how people don't understand atheism. And, so there's the people who think that we're Satanists, who don't quite understand that, if you don't believe in God, that probably means you don't believe in other magic beings.
Right.
There are people, so you get a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to discuss just how you and I talk about our atheism with people, and we're not the best models in the world for this, but I mean, I just wanted to open the discussion. I'm not saying that we're don't.
Well, what do you do, Dan?
Okay, so I am very much open about my atheism. Yeah. I'm always, people know about it. I hope I'm not one of those. There is the joke, how do you know if someone's an atheist or a CrossFit enthusiast? They'll tell you in 5 minutes or whatever. You wait. Anyway, I hope I'm not that. But the second...
nobody knows about your CrossFit.
Well, that's true. They definitely don't know about that. I don't even know about my CrossFit. But if it comes up, if there's any reason for it to come up, it will. I'm not going to shy away at all. I'm not going to hide it at all.
Right.
And I'm also fascinated by religion, so I might be asking them questions.
Sure, yeah.
And that's going to probably lead to them wondering where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
And I've gotten in a little bit of trouble every now and then for it. Not as much trouble as some people. Some people are totally willing to alienate their friends and coworkers, and I'm not quite that strident.
Right.
However, I have alienated people, not intentionally.
Well, see, my issue is, and we've talked about this before on the show, is that I really don't have many people in my life outside of my family who I don't see that often because of proximity,
right?
Or lack thereof. I don't really have people in my life who are believers,
right?
Not really. Yeah, okay. There's going to be people at work, right? But that's if you're a professional, in your work environment. Then you know how to behave, and you know what to talk about and what to not talk about.
Right.
And it's easy enough as an atheist to not talk about religion.
Well,
right?
I've run afoul of that.
But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I have this challenge in that, like you said, we live in sort of this safe place, and the general backlash against organized religion here is so strong.
Yeah, we have a counterculture that's pretty powerful.
And if you just exist within that counterculture, even if you have people who believe in some sort of higher power, but they're unwilling to like define it, or they're not religious in any way, shape, or form, and it's clear that they're not even Christian, but they believe in ghosts,
right?
Or whatever, right? Like these people who are incredibly difficult to reason with if it actually comes up,
sure,
right? Because they haven't thought through it, but they're not threatened by your opposition to religion because they have an opposition to organized religion as well,
right? Yeah,
and so it's this really strange dynamic that we live in. We don't have sort of casual believers in this area.
That's true. Everybody's picked a side.
Yeah.
There is. I will say this. So one of the moments for me that was trouble that got me into a little bit of trouble was I was at a job, and I worked with a young woman who was LDS. She was Mormon.
Yeah.
And like many religious believers, hadn't given it much thought.
Oh, yeah.
She just that's what she was. That's where she was raised, and she believed it.
Yeah.
And so I would ask her questions about it, and none of it from my end was intending to denigrate her religion,
right,
or was intending to put her down for believing in her religion or any of that sort of thing. However, we have to. One of the things that I want to caution everyone, all of you out there, on, is that people who live in a privileged position don't understand that that's the case.
Right. Yeah.
And she was part of the majority, and if you start to say something that is not of the majority view,
right,
that can very much be perceived as attacking.
Yeah. Which is so funny to me. Like, they have all, like, if they could just objectively step back and go, oh, I really have nothing to lose by this person just bringing up this issue. I'm still in the majority. Yeah. My boss is much more likely to side with me in in some sort of dispute between two employees. Right. Like
you're
if
safe.
They could just step back and see that, it would be amazing, but they don't.
Or if they could
stay in their situation, and they don't try to have perspective on it, and they don't understand their privilege, and they let themselves feel attacked.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
Well, and even if they can't step out of the situation enough to see like that they're safe, if they could step out of the situation enough to actually just hear the words that I'm using, or rather than hearing what they're presuming I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, Dan, I mean,
so I don't want
to question. Okay, finish your story.
So all I did, I pointed out that both of my parents were LDS historians.
Oh yeah.
And so the the talk turned to the history of the LDS Church.
Right.
And I started to bring up things that she was A, not aware of, and B, she assumed was just anti-Mormon propaganda.
Right.
It was all, of course, true. and yes, I'm going to totally cop to the fact that something in me was getting great joy out of kind of needling her.
Right. Yeah.
But I never attacked her religion.
Right.
And I never, and it wasn't my intention to. It would just be like these little things of like, well, did you know, blah, blah, blah?
Right.
Did you know that Joseph Smith had a glass of wine the night before he died? Just little things like that. Did you know? Just because I wanted to see how she would respond. Now, that's just dumb to do at work.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I was being stupid
to
do that at work. But yeah, it got me in some trouble.
Yeah, I bet it did.
Don't.
Because I was just about to question sort of your, like, innocence.
Well,
because
no,
you do have a directness about the way that you communicate.
I do.
Yes.
It's true.
And so I was, but you just copped to it. So that's good.
Here's the thing. I thought I was staying on the windy side of the law by not talking about theology at all. I was talking about history. And I thought, you can't argue with me.
Far worse.
You can't get mad at me for just talking about history.
Far worse.
Yeah, no good
because
at all.
that's what's damning about the Mormons. Is their history.
Yeah.
Because belief versus belief versus belief.
Right.
That's just the way the world works.
Right.
Right. And everybody's fine with that. Oh, really? That's what you believe.
Right.
Oh, really?
That's
you believe
interesting.
that God, the Father, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost are actually all one thing.
But they're separate, but they're one.
They're separate, but they're one.
That's
interesting.
I don't understand
that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
That's one thing.
That's one thing. But to be like, yeah, Joseph Smith, yeah, he was a total fucking hypocrite.
Right, exactly.
Like what you believe now is totally in complete contradiction with what he thought.
Right, yeah. The founder of your church, yeah.
Of course that's going to get you into trouble, Dan.
Yeah, it did. And here's I think we're getting to the crux of this thing, which is that if you can attack someone's religion, but if you do, know that you're being a dick. I think that's true. I mean, atheists love to do this. I know a lot of atheists who attack people on their religion. And yeah, you're probably right.
Right.
And yeah, you probably can catch people out in contradictions in the Bible. You can probably catch them in things that they didn't even know are in the Bible. And yes, you will be correct.
Right.
You will also be being a jerk.
Now, what about baiting? What if you're just, oh, God, I'm so glad there's no God, and just leave it at that, right, around the most religious person in the office, right?
Also a dick move. Fun. No, here's the thing. I'm not saying don't be a dick. I'm just saying just know when what you're doing is being a jerk.
Right.
You're not just winning an argument. You're being a jerk. And you're allowed to be a jerk. Like, that's a thing that you can do.
Choose to be a jerk.
Yeah.
Just be aware that you're being
it's
a
fun.
jerk.
I was being, with that coworker, I was totally being a dick. I get that.
And why did you do that?
I don't know. It was
That's not what you want to do.
I don't know. She was dumb. I did not like her very much, and I just wanted to mess with her a little bit. So a lot of atheists come at this from a place of defensiveness. Mm-hmm. They come at it from a place of, we are under attack. This person, because they're Christian, probably hates me, or probably, and I get it. Like, atheists are largely looked down on and treated badly. And, there's a lot of prejudice against atheists. Mm-hmm. So I totally get it.
Yeah.
However, defensiveness is the worst place you can come from when you're trying to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to make you receptive to them at all. And then they're definitely not going to be receptive to you. Mm-mm. And it's just, you're not going to have a discussion. You're going to have an argument that will lead nowhere, and both people will come away feeling shitty.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the main crux, is that we don't need to be defensive. Be interested in how people believe, in what people believe. You don't have to believe it. You can think it's kooky, but be interested.
Yeah, now, why not hear it from the horse's mouth?
Yeah.
About what they believe.
Find out what they believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Believe me, that if you just shut up and let them talk, they will say some shit that will blow your mind.
Yeah.
And that's fun. When you start to learn to appreciate that, the mind blow.
Yeah.
You're going to be good. Otherwise, everyone's going to just be grumbly.
I know. It's like,
what good comes of that? Every now and then you got to blow off some steam, though, and then you get fired.
Wait, you got fired?
Well, that was one of the things that was used against me.
Oh,
in my firing.
damn.
It's the one time in my life I've ever been fired.
Then I know what else was used against you. Wow.
Yeah.
You got a lot going on in that job.
She did not like me. She did not like me. She ended up building... lodging a lot of
this person
spurious
really
complaints
did
about
not
me.
Like you.
No.
Because if this is the one time, if you're being real about that.
Yeah. You know this. Yeah, you know that story.
I know other stories then.
Yeah.
Wow, Dan.
Yeah. So anyway.
You pissed this poor little girl off.
Yeah, she wanted me gone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
You didn't even like that job.
I hated that job. It was fine. I got and the state ended up agreeing with me that they had no grounds to fire me, and so I got unemployment too. So,
that's the best.
Oh yeah, money with no work. Hell yeah, I'll take that any day of the week. Actually, just kidding. I voluntarily went off of unemployment after a bit.
All right. Well, Dan.
Well, there you go. If you guys know, if you guys want to dispute or want to give some nuance to our discussion of discussions.
Well, what? Yeah, you've had stories.
Yeah, let us know.
Dear listener.
Yeah,
you know.
I'm sure we're going to get some good stories about how people interacting with other people.
What have your coworkers said to you?
About atheism, what it is. I mean, people don't even know what it is.
Who's made the office or workplace in general uncomfortable for you?
Well, and also, like, how many surely there are people out there who have actually made it awesome because they've been able to discuss things properly and smartly and stuff. Anyway, you can write to us. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com is the address.
Or you can leave us a voicemail number. The number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, you can continue the discussion with each other on our Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
Seek out the TGIA Members Only Lounge by searching for it on Facebook.
Right.
And request to join.
And then it'll be a discussion only for you listeners.
Ooh.
No public allowed.
No.
Just
it's exclusive.
It's just us in there. Thanks to Mackenzie for doing the Facebook page. She's an amazing person and she does a great job.
And thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for the continued use of their music.
Yeah, I sure do love it. And I sure do love you, dear listener, and thank you so much for tuning in.
Bye!